Did you guys hear that? I'm pretty sure I just heard Talon scream, yes, from Seattle. So he's up there right now, so I'm handling more of the videos. But there has been the announcement. No, not the announcement, but there's been more confirmation that a Switch 2 is coming. And we need to talk about this because Video Game Chronicles put out a really great article kind of detailing some of the features of this new Switch. And I think there's a lot to be excited for, but there's some things that I'm worried about. So let's talk about this article. This article was put out yesterday, July 31st, 2023 by Andy Robinson of VideoGamesChronicles.com. Andy says, sources Nintendo targets 2024 with next-gen console. Development kits for Nintendo's next console are now with key partner studios with launch planned for next year. Sources have told VGC. This is something that even I have heard from people I know saying, yeah, I'm hearing from devs that they have a Switch 2 dev kit, right? So the Switch 2 dev kit is going out to developers, which means things are getting serious. The R&D into the system itself is done. Now the games are being made, and Switch games, with rare exceptions of like Mario, and like the other Mario, Zelda, and the JRPG, Switch games don't tend to take all that long, right? So what's likely happening right now is that Mario is going to have something for the launch of the next Switch. So we could probably expect to see like a Mario Odyssey 2, right? That's likely going to come out with the drop of a new Switch. We're also probably going to see something like Kirby, because Kirby's been on a roll lately. Kirby's been doing great, and we may see a new Metroid, right? Can you imagine the hype, especially with how well Metroid as a franchise has been doing lately? Metroid Dread, I think they said it finally crossed 3 million in sales, which for a Metroid game is wild. And then Metroid Prime Remaster just came out. If they came out and said, hey, let's say January of 2024, they say, hey, we have an announcement later this year. We'll be releasing the, Nintendo Switch 2 or the Nintendo Super Switch. That's what I'm going to call forever, Super Switch. But I say we're going to release that, and alongside that, we're going to have Mario Odyssey 2 and Metroid Prime 4. A lot of people have been waiting for Metroid Prime 4 for years. I believe it's been over 5 years since they said, hey, we're going to start it over, right? And so they're probably now going through and going, hey, let's do that. But according to multiple people with knowledge of Nintendo's next-gen console plans, the company is likely to release new hardware during the second half of 2024. This according to the article by VGC. Article continues to ensure that it has ample stock available on day one and to avoid the kind of shortages seen with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. That is one of the things that is really nightmarish and part of the new thing with modern gaming and buying stuff related to games, right? The Spider-Man Collector's Edition PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 plates and controller came out the other day, and scalpers got them all within a few minutes. I was on PlayStation Direct when they went live, and I couldn't get the plates. I got the controller, couldn't get the plates. Fortunately, I got them from GameStop later, but they said they're not restocking them. It's unfortunate because that's leaving money on the table, but Nintendo wants to avoid that. I think they want to avoid scalpers having the ability to kind of like screw the consumer, which I think is great. A lot of people do give Nintendo some grief for their consumer or anti-consumer practices. I've never really had a problem with it personally, but I can understand where people are coming from, especially like people with families with kids, right? You're trying to keep your kids entertained. Nintendo seems like the way to go. Mario, right? Kirby, Zelda. And they'll charge you for a remake of something that, like the new Super Mario Brothers that was on Wii U coming to Switch. So, avoiding those shortages and not letting scalpers like run that market, I think is going to be huge. If they can pull that off, that's going to be a big win for them regardless. And especially if they have, right when it launches, they have stock, like they have like 8 million stocked ready to go, right? It's not going to be a crazy day one rush like it was with PlayStation 5. I remember PlayStation 5 came out. I spent like 6 hours on Best Buy that day, hoping one would free up, someone would cancel an order, and I finally got one eventually. But it took some people years to get one. People are just getting their first one now with the Spider-Man one, right? Because the stock has finally gone up. So them trying to avoid that is great. Although Specific details of the console are being kept closely guarded. Those VGC spoke to indicated the next gen console will be able to use in portable mode similar to the Nintendo Switch. I don't see Nintendo abandoning this. They are the kings, the undisputed kings of the casual market right now. Now, aside from mobile, right? Mobile's for the hyper casual market, in my opinion. The casual market is the Switch. I have 3 Switch, right? You can kind of see, one of my students pointed this out yesterday up here. That is my Switch hanging on the wall. I mounted it to the wall. It's my Zelda one. That way it's up and away from the cat. It's also nice and behind the TV. I can still kind of see it when I come in the room, but it's out of the way, right? Then I have my other OLED with my Zelda controllers that my cat has chewed on right here, right? So I also have my other original Switch over in the corner. It's just on the plug, not even on a dock. It's just plugged in, charging, because I don't use it very much. Usually generally when I go on a trip or something. But with that, look how many I bought. I bought one original one. I bought an OLED, and then I bought Zelda one because it's Zelda. It's my favorite franchise of all time. So I had to buy the special edition Zelda Switch. I was never able to get the Zelda Wii U, but I was able to get the Zelda Link Between Worlds 3DS, and that's my favorite portable I've held up until this Zelda Switch. So having this portable mode, this Switch hybrid console, is so important to Nintendo right now because they are the only ones doing it. They are the kings of this market. They own this market. Nobody else has a hybrid console. You might argue the Steam Deck, right? If you have a dock like I've got, I haven't even really set this up yet, but if you've got a dock for your Steam Deck, you could argue it's like the Switch, but Switch comes with all that, and it's easy, right? There's no crazy thing I have to do. I just plug in the DVD, and then when I want to take it to go, I just take it out, put it back in, right? When I'm done. That's insane to me that Nintendo just created something that I think people are expecting from them now, right? So article goes on to say, 2 sources spoke to suggest that the console could launch with an LCD screen instead of a more premium OLED in order to bring costs down, especially considering the increased storage needed for higher fidelity games. The current Switch comes with just 32 gigabytes of internal memory, while many current gen PlayStation and Xbox games are over 100 gigabytes. That is true, and a lot of that has to do with sound files. If you look at, I guarantee it, if you look at Call of Duty, right, a good chunk of that is just uncompressed audio, right? So when you get those gunfire sounds or people going, move, 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 right? All that stuff, that is just huge audio files so that they can bring you nice, clear, crisp audio with your game. And Switch doesn't focus on that as much, which I think is why their file sizes are so much smaller. But we saw file sizes start to get big with Zelda, right? Zelda, they said, is the biggest game they've ever made, and I think it's 17 or 18 gigs or something. Biggest Nintendo game ever made is 18 gigs. It's a fifth of the size of Call of Duty, and it gives you way, way more to do, in my opinion, than just run around the same 20 maps for a year until the next one comes out. They charge you full price for it. That is going to be a big thing, but having increased storage is going to be a thing that they can kind of market on. Hey, your last Switch had 32 gigs. This one has 512, right? And NVMEs now, they get an NVMe. Those cost $40. And if you're getting them on wholesale and you're Nintendo, you could probably, and you could say your product is in the Switch, probably easily get them for $20-25, right? If not cheaper than that, right? If you're buying millions of them. So with that, you're going to see an increased need for storage because it's going to happen. Even getting those 4K textures and stuff, that's going to be a big deal and inflate the size of the games regardless. But one of the other things that I've seen some people talk about since yesterday is that, it's going to have the LCD screen, and the LCD screen is not a problem in my opinion. The biggest issue with the LCD screen on the original Switch is it's not as vibrant as the OLED. And when I got the OLED, the fact that it was a little bit bigger and it had a really crisp, bright screen was I was like, I can actually play this in handheld more comfortably. But in my opinion, the Steam Deck has a really awesome screen, and it is an LCD screen. And all you have to do to get those vibrant, rich colors of an OLED is allow the player base to mess with the saturation. If they can mess with the saturation, crank it up 20%, I feel like people aren't going to have a problem with it, even if they had a Switch OLED. They're not going to be like, I got to go to this kind of weak screen after the really nice Switch OLED screen, right? That being said, a couple years down the line, we're absolutely going to see an OLED screen. version come out. They'd be insane not to do that, because just like this one, like if I buy a launch one and they come out with one with an OLED, I'll buy the OLED because I like those pure blacks. That's just me, right? Those pure blacks that you get only on an OLED are just gorgeous, in my opinion. Like its predecessor, the article continues, the new Nintendo console will also accept physical games via a cartridge slot. Now, this is good. This is good. I like physical games. I do not like this trend of everything's moving to digital. Like Alan Wake 2, I want to play Alan Wake 2, but I don't think I will, because I don't agree with just going, we're not releasing a physical copy. Now, if it's for PC, I don't mind. Like, I trust Steam as a platform to not just boot me off and take all of the money I've spent. Like, I've been on Steam for 15 years, right? So I trust that Steam is going to let me keep my profile and keep my games. Do I trust that from Xbox, Nintendo, or Microsoft? Or PlayStation? No, I do not. And I do not like a future where I can't just like put a cartridge or a disc into my console and play it. And I also just like having the physical media, right? Like I have like the Last of Us collectors and Metroid Dread collectors, and those have like physical editions, and I like that. I don't even like the trend of, like God of War Ragnarok. This special edition didn't come with a physical edition. It came with a steel book, and down the line when there's, a sale on God of War Ragnarok and it's like $20 for a disc, I'll probably buy it so I can have a disc to put in that physical edition. And they get people like me like that. That's one of the things I don't care for with Sony stuff, but I understand it, because if they include a disc, they have to go, or that might not work for people who have the digital only PS5. Right? Same with Xbox. Like if you have a Series S, having a disc is going to do nothing for you. So they have to include a digital code. It's the easiest way to include everybody. Cool, I get it. I just don't like it, right? So physical games coming back. But what the main hope for me with the physical cartridge slot is that it's going to offer backwards compatibility. Now, this hasn't been confirmed yet, but I have a feeling it will be. One of the main reasons is because they're releasing a big 2D Mario game, right, this fall. And I think they're going to want people to feel comfortable buying that game and having it on their next system. Yeah, sure, they go, oh, well, your games aren't good here. But I feel like that absolutely kind of is going to frustrate a lot of players to the point where they go, maybe I just don't want to buy one immediately then. I'll wait till games come out and are a little cheaper because I'm going to want games with it. I'm good with my Switch. I can still play Zelda. I can still play Kirby. I can still play Mario. I can still play Metroid. Yeah. And I feel like that's going to be what happens. They're just going to frustrate a lot of people into just not engaging with the new system if they don't make it backwards compatible. And I would hate to see that, because they've been killing it with their IP. Like Mario Odyssey's great. Mario Wonder looks like it's going to be great. I already have that pre-ordered. I have Mario RPG pre-ordered because Mario RPG is one of my favorite games of all time that I've been wishing for a remake for like 10 years. So like I'm happy that they're doing all these great games, but I want them to do the consumer friendly thing. Make sure that you're making it possible for the system owners that already own and have a bunch of games to get that new system day one, to want to get it, right? Like I want to get it day one, and I'm even more incentivized to get it day one if backwards compatibility is a thing. So Nintendo, the sooner you confirm that, I promise you, the sooner you confirm that, the better, because the more people can feel secure of, hey, I may not be able to afford a $70 game, because let's be real, the second that new console drops, all the games are $70, just how it is, folks. But I may not be able to afford a $70 game, but I have a ton of games that I have for my Switch that I can play on that new thing, and they're going to look better, and they're going to run better. I could run Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom at 60 FPS. Oh, that alone, if you could do that, that is a day one buy for me. Day one. If you can upscale it 1440p or 4K, 60 FPS, use that DLSS, all you need to get it to happen, I'm there. Day one. Yeah, come home, plug it in, start Tears of the Kingdom immediately. New playthrough, right? That being said, Nintendo has not officially responded to this story by VGC. So Nintendo plays very close to the chest. They're very old school. They don't mess around. They try their best to keep like the lid on things as much as possible. But yeah, I would say that with Switch hardware sales finally slowing down a little bit, they're not slowing down a ton, but they're slowing down a little bit. We can expect to see this by the end of next year. I guarantee you 2024 is not going to be a year for the Switch. So likely what's going to happen is they're going to see the holiday sales happen this year. That'll be it, because they're gonna mark the Switch down like you get 2 games for the price of the Switch OLED, right? Plus the Switch OLED, right? So you can go pick, you'll see the Best Buy Black Friday deal will be like Nintendo Switch OLED plus, 2 games of your choice for like $2.99, right? They're gonna try and be getting rid of these, and then next year it's gonna slow down, and then probably in the end of the first quarter, the beginning of the second quarter, right? March or April next year, they're likely gonna go, hey, by the way, we got a new console coming out. So make sure to check that out. And hopefully it works with all of our games, Nintendo. But that's the article. Having this console come out, especially this late, right? The Switch has had one hell of a run. I don't think anybody expected it to do as well as it did. I don't think anybody expected it to go as far as it did. By the time the next one releases, it's going to be the end of its 7th year of the Switch. And then we're going to have a new Switch. Again, the hybrid model is a winner for Nintendo. They would be crazy to drop that. Having more storage space is going to be a huge thing. Better performance is a huge thing, especially if you got your older games that are able to perform better. And just creating another device that people can take with them on the go, like, I think that's a W. That's a win for Nintendo. If they nail the release of the Switch 2, Super Switch, Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it, if they nail it, it's game over. Nobody's competing with them. Not in this market. They have the casual, family-friendly market locked down if they get this. Because Nintendo, I mean, they basically have always had it locked down, but they have these rocky kind of history, right? Like N64 did great, GameCube didn't. We did great. Wii U was awful, right? And that goes way far back, right? There's like Super Nintendo, and then they had Game Boy, and then they had Virtual Boy, which Virtual Boy was... Whoo! That, you talk about the Wii U being a failure. Virtual Boy's monumental failure, right? That's probably before a lot of you were alive. But yeah, if Nintendo can do it 2 gens in a row, especially with this kind of device, that's it. It's game over. They have it lock and key. It is over for anyone else trying to compete in this casual, family-friendly game market. And I'm fine with that. Like, I love Nintendo. I think Nintendo has the best IP and the best, in terms of innovation, the best ideas, right? Like Microsoft kind of falls behind in innovation. They try and do like the raw power. Like the Series X is the most powerful console, right? PlayStation's kind of in the middle, where it's very powerful and they try and bring some innovation, right? Like the DualSense controller, I still think is like the coolest thing ever, right? Feels great to play games on it. Every other controller I have does not really compare to that controller. As much as I love like my 8-bit Dual Ultimate, that's a fantastic controller, but doesn't immerse me like a DualSense for the PS5, right? So let's see Nintendo land this plane with a Super Switch, Switch Pro, Switch 2, Switch Alpha X, whatever they're gonna call it. Bring it on home. Yeah, the one thing I will say, they got to keep the name Switch, right? Like if you go new Nintendo Switch or like Switch 2, anything like that, let people know it is a different thing. Not like Wii U. That was a Wii U's problem. People didn't even realize it's a different thing. But land this plane, Nintendo, I beg you, and give me the opportunity to play Tears of the Kingdom. Upscaled 4K 60. Yeah, you got me day one. All right, what do you guys think about this basic confirmation that we're going to have a Nintendo Switch 2, a successor to the Switch, come out, and it's going to come out next year? Are you excited? Are you buying one day one like me? I'm a content creator. I'm a Nintendo nerd. I'm going to have one day one. Probably regardless, but like it's going to entice me even more if it's backwards compatible. Is the backwards compatibility a big deal to you, or do you just want new games, right? Let us know down in the comments below. I'm LittleBobby here with 59 Direct, and I hope we see you soon. Thank you so much for watching today. You guys take care and have a great day.